Good afternoon. Hope we are live. I just am waiting for the confirmation. Let me just check. Yeah, done. So we are indeed live. Welcome back to Excel Academy CSEET live classes for the June 2026 batch of students. So today we'll be continuing from where we had left, that is rectification of errors. This is rectification of errors. I would call it part 2. That's what this is. So yesterday we looked at the trial balance. We looked at the different types of preparation of trial balance, and we also looked at the rectification of errors. So this is in fact the continuation of the same. So before we proceed towards the rectification itself, a quick announcement with respect to our WhatsApp group. Please click on the link below. It will directly take you to the WhatsApp group. You will get lots of benefits, including the notes, important CSET updates, etc. And also we have a CSET mentorship program. So all you have to do is just call us on 973-973-400. You will get all these benefits. Okay. So moving on. Just give me a second. Yeah. So here we are. Following errors were found in the books of XYZ. Give necessary entries to correct them. Fine. So we have already looked into the different types of errors. We saw that there are 4 different types of errors, which are those errors of principle, errors of commission, errors of omission, and lastly, compensating error. So error of principle is where we confuse asset with an expenditure or income with something else liability, and we change the debits and credits. So there is an error of understanding itself. That would be error of principle. Then we have error of commission, where we can say it as clerical errors or human errors. And then we have error of omission, where a transaction has been completely omitted from the record. So that is error of omission. And lastly, we have compensating error, which means that one error compensates for another error. That means one error cancels out another error. So that is referred to as error of or compensating error. So now let's have a look at the uh, problem, and then we'll proceed further. So now in this case, what do we have? One second, give me a second. Yeah. Yeah, no, we are done. Okay, let me just decrease the size. Yeah, now this is better, I guess. At least bulk of the screen is visible now. Okay, let's look at the first one. I think it's visible. Yeah. A purchase of goods from R amounting to rupees 10,000 has been wrongly entered through the sales book. Okay. So wrongly entered through the sales book means only one thing: they have treated it as sales instead of treating that as purchase. The correct entry which they should have recorded would have been purchase account debit 10k to R's account. Okay. So on the left hand side we have debit, increase in expense, and on the right hand side we have increase in liability. R is a liability because we owe him money. We have purchased goods but we haven't yet paid anything. Now they have treated this as sales, completely opposite. So how have they recorded this transaction? The wrong entry which they have passed is, sorry, R's account debit to sales account 10,000 and 10,000. So now how do we rectify this error? So one is of course a wrong debit given to R and wrong credit given to sales. That has to be reversed, and at the same time purchase should be debited. So let me rectify this. Rectification entry would be purchase account debit 10,000, sales account debit again 10,000. So this is nothing but reversal of earlier wrong credit to R's account 20,000. That's it. So this would be the rectification entry where we are giving the right debit, reversing the wrong credit, and also giving the proper credit to R, at the same time reversing this particular wrong debit. So out of the 20,000, one half of the 20,000, that is 10,000, will go towards rectifying the wrong debit given to R, and the other half will go towards giving the right credit to R. So 10 plus 10, 20K. I hope that makes sense. Okay, that was a very easy transaction. Let's move to the next transaction. Now, second one, furniture purchased for office use amounting to rupees 25,000 has been entered in the purchase day book. Okay, this is again error of principle. Why? Because instead of treating that as an asset, they have treated this as an expenditure. So instead of debiting asset, they have debited expenditure. Okay, so let us look at the entry which they should have recorded. That would have been furniture account debit. I hope the sound is fine. Uh, if at all, there is any problem with the sound, please do ping me on the, what is it, chat window, so that I will know. And whatever corrections I can make, whatever rectifications I can make with respect to sound, I will do. I hope right now the sound is fine, because I won't know, because I would have muted the video. So yeah, even if someone from Excel team is watching, please do let me know if the sound is fine. Furniture account debit. What is the value of this furniture? 25,000. So I'll just write 25. 2. From whom have we recorded? Nothing is mentioned. So I'll write to bank. We'll assume that we have paid for the furniture. So there is no liability. Increase in one asset, that is furniture, and decrease in another asset, which is bank. This should have been the entry which they should have ideally recorded. But they didn't record this. They recorded this entry. They passed it through purchase book. Means they have recorded that as purchase account. 25,000 to bank. So they have treated that as an expense. So now what is the problem? Wrong debit to purchase and missing right debit to furniture. So those two would be the only two accounts involved in the rectification process now. So how to rectify this? Very simple. Give the right debit to furniture which was not given by them. So furniture account debit 25,000 to purchases. That's all. So wrong debit rectified and right debit given. So that is how you rectify this particular entry. So that is with respect to the second transaction. Let's move on to the next one. Let me just check once. If everything is right, it looks fine. Yeah. Next. Third adjustment. Minor repairs to the furniture account amounting to rupees 1,500 were debited to furniture account. Okay, there is a correction in the question itself. Minor repairs to furniture, not furniture account. Okay. So now let us look at this. Repairs have been done on furniture. Okay. So that means there was some repair work to be done. They have completed that repair work and they have debited furniture account itself. And they are saying very specifically minor repairs. That means here what is to be noted here is there is no additional capacity. That means capacity is not increasing with respect to the asset, but there is some work which has been done on furniture. So now, first of all, we have to identify what is the nature of this. Is it capital in nature or revenue in nature? Should we consider this as a revenue expenditure or a capital expenditure? So the clue here is very simple: minor repairs. So if it is a minor repair and if they are not specified that the capacity has increased or if there is any addition to the furniture, in such a circumstance we'll consider that as major repairs. Okay, but whereas here there is nothing, and in fact not only major repair, we'll consider that as capital expenditure when there is increase in capacity. Assume you had two chairs. Now you repurposed those two chairs and converted that into a huge, let's say, table. Okay, you added some additional wood and whatnot. So now this would be a capital expenditure. Okay, so then it should be debited to the furniture account itself. Whereas in the present case, there is no such thing happening. This is only a minor repair. It's a day-to-day expenditure. So it's a revenue expenditure which should have been simply debited to revenue account itself. That is repairs account. They didn't do that. So obviously there is a mistake. So let us look at the actual entry which they should have recorded. Repairs and maintenance perhaps, or I will just simply write repairs account debit. How much is that minor repairs? 1500 to bank account. 1500. This is the entry which they should have passed. Okay. Increase in expenditure, decrease in asset. Expenditure is increasing debit, asset is decreasing credit. But instead of this, what did they do? So they debited the furniture account itself. Furniture account debit 1500 to bank, which is wrong because there is no asset involved in this case. Of course, the only asset involved here is bank, which they have anyway correctly given credit to. Now the rectification. Give the right debit to repairs, which they should have 1500, and rectify this wrong debit by crediting it, by reversing it to furniture 1500. That's all. So that is the entry which you should be recording to rectify the error. I hope it makes sense. Let's move on. Next is the wages account. Wages amounting to rupees 3000 paid to workmen for making office furniture has been charged to wages account. This is the reverse situation. So now they have contracted, or they have given the contract of making a furniture to some people, and they have come to the office or wherever they are working from. They made the furniture for office use and they presented the bill. They paid the bill too, but they treated that expenditure of 3000 paid to those people who made the furniture as wages. They have treated that as direct expense, which is wrong. Why? Because if you are paying something to someone so that they can create a new asset, that should be part of the cost of the asset itself. One example which I can think of here is this is the fourth one, right? I'll just mention the name of the, number of the question. Imagine, just okay. Imagine for a second you import a machine from Germany. Okay. And this machine costs 10 lakhs. But the problem with this is no one in your factory knows how to operate this machine. They do not know ABC of this machine. So without knowing, they won't be able to operate. And without anyone in your factory knowing how to operate, this machine is as good as useless. It's like piece of furniture. So what do? You make sure that one employee of that company which actually sold this machinery to you, you get that person here. You pay their airfare. Let's say the airfare to and fro comes to 2,50,000. Then you pay for their stay for a week, 7 days. So that comes to around 20,000. Okay. So now other expenses of that person, resource person, in total comes to another, let's say for the 7 days, another 10,000. Now the point here is, unless you incur this expenditure wherein you are getting someone from that country, the person who actually made the machine, to here to your factory and explain the system to your employees, you will not be able to use that machine at all. So if someone asks you, or when you are accounting this particular purchase, you should not only consider 10 lakhs as the cost of the machine. You should consider 10 lakhs plus 250 plus 20 plus 30. That means 1280 would be the cost of this machine. That's how you should record, because unless you spend on that resource person's travel, whatever it is, all the expenses, the point here is, unless he is able to explain the functioning of the machine to your employees, your employees will not be able to work on that machine. So therefore, in this case, the actual expenditure is 1280, not just 10 lakhs. Of course, you can include taxes and whatnot. So that is the thing. Okay, now let us consider that and then try to work out this problem. So now the wages amounting to 3000 paid to those workmen for making office furniture will be considered as part of the cost of the furniture itself. So therefore, the correct entry should have been furniture account debit 3000 to bank. This is the entry: increase in asset and decrease in asset. The correct entry which they should have passed. But what did they do? They passed an incorrect entry wherein they debited what? Wages account. They debited the expense account instead of asset account. So now how do we rectify this? Very simple. Give the right debit to furniture. Furniture account debit 3000 to wages account. The wrong debit reversed. This wrong debit has been now reversed, and this right debit has been given. That's it. So now the entry has been rectified. I hope this makes sense. Shall we move on? Yeah, I guess so. Let's do that. Next. That was the fourth transaction. Let's move to the fifth transaction regarding the tuition fees. Now, let's first read the transaction, what exactly has happened, and then we'll try to understand what is the error, and then we'll rectify the same. So in this case, the proprietor has paid his son's tuition fee from the business and treated it as audit fees. It has got nothing to do with the business. It is definitely not audit fees, but they have treated it as audit fees. Very creative way of looking at tuition fees of the son of the proprietor. The correct entry which they should have recorded in this case is very simple. They should have simply debited drawings account. Why drawings? Because you are withdrawing 25,000 rupees from your business to pay for your son's fees. So when you're doing that, you can't consider that as a business expense. It should be completely be treated as nothing but your personal expenditure, that is drawings. So you treated it as audit fees, which shouldn't have been touched at all at the first in the first place. So now the correct entry in this case would be drawings account debit. How much is the fees? 25,000 to bank. Okay, this is the entry which they should have passed. So what did they do? Unfortunately, they debited audit fees. Who will debit audit fees for this? This is nothing but decrease in capital or decrease in liability also, because capital is anyway liability. We already know that. Then to bank. This is the entry which they have passed. 25, 25. Now the rectification entry, sorry, rectification would be giving the right debit to drawings to audit fees credit. Why audit fees should be credited? Because we have already debited that account incorrectly. Now we will rectify by reversing it, or in other words crediting it. So now it makes sense. Drawings account debit to audit fees account, that is the rectification entry. Of course, in the exam the first two entries are not required, because that is only for your understanding in the classroom. The entry which you are supposed to write in the exam is drawings to audit fees only. Once again, let me reiterate, at this moment we are in mid Feb, 17th Feb. We still do not know what would be the pattern of the question paper. The institute so far hasn't released any weightage related to the chapters in the syllabus. Most likely it will not, given the past history of ICSI. So until you appear for the exam in June 2026, you will not know, perhaps unfortunately, the pattern. So you should be ready for everything. You may get question from any nook and corner of the study material syllabus. Hopefully it will be not out of the syllabus. Most likely it won't be, but at the same time you should make sure that whatever is there in the syllabus, we should be thorough with the same. Okay, fine, let's move on to the next one. This is the fifth transaction. No, okay, let's move on to sixth. An amount of rupees 10,000 due from Mohan, which had been written off as bad debt in the previous year, was unexpectedly recovered and has been posted to the personal account of Mohan. Oh my goodness, that's a mistake, right? Once again, let me read it out. An amount of rupees 10,000 due from Mohan. It was due last year, perhaps, and we had even written it off as bad debt. Okay. Oh, they have mentioned previous year. And now in the next year, this year, we recovered it. We thought Mohan will not pay. Mohan has absconded or Mohan has been declared as insolvent. Now, how do we even retain that amount in the business? So we had written it off. Now, suddenly in the next year, he is actually making the payment. But what did we do? We posted to the personal account of Mohan. I'll tell you what the problem here is. We'll have to go back in time a little bit to understand what exactly is happening here. So one thing is we may have sold goods to Mohan because we have to understand the chronology, no? Mm, Mohan to sales. This is what happened. Okay, we'll assume 10,000. Increase in asset because he owes us money. Income. He didn't pay this. We realized he will not pay because he has been declared as bankrupt. So what did we do? We wrote off that amount which was due from him as bad debts. Bad debts account, that is increase in expense, debit 10,000 to Mohan's account, 10,000. Decrease in asset. That is a loss to us. What? Bad debts is loss. Now the problem here is we have already made Mohan's account zero. There is no balance. There is a debit entry of 10,000 to sales and there is a credit entry of 10,000 by bad debts. So Mohan's account is now showing a zero balance. When that is the case, and when you recover this amount in the next year, how can you include Mohan's account? Because we have already nullified his account. No, there is no balance here. So now in this context, let us try to understand what is the wrong entry which they have passed. The entry which they have passed is this: bank account debit. We'll always use bank account for receipt of money. Will not use cash. Okay. Bank account debit. How much? 10,000 to Mohan's account. 10,000. Now the problem here is this: suddenly there is a new entry in Mohan's account, something which wasn't there earlier at all. So now, I mean, the balance was zero. Now I'll show you the Mohan's account so that way you'll understand what exactly I'm trying to say. So Mohan's account looks like this. That is the ledger we are referring to. So two sales, 10,000. Buy bad debts, 10,000. This was last year. Now this year, what did you do? You suddenly wrote by bank. I'm just posting that entry which I have recorded earlier. This is this wrong entry. I'm just posting the same. Now tell me what is the balance in Mohan's account. It's a credit balance of 10,000 because the credit side is greater this year. That means as if we owe him money to Mohan. Why should we pay? Just because we recorded incorrectly, it shows, it gives that picture. So what is the rectification entry then? Very simple. The rectification, or let me put the right entry first. Bank account debit. This is the right entry which they should have recorded. 2. Bad debts recovered. Oh my, 10,000. This is decrease in expense, bad debts recovered. This is obviously increase in asset. This is the entry which they should have passed. Then, so now what is the rectification entry? That is again very simple. So now Mohan's account has been wrongly credited, reverse it by debiting. So the rectification entry would be Mohan's account debit 10k to give the right credit to bad debts recovered. Bad debts recovered. That's it. That would be decrease in expense, or you can even treat it as income if you want. So this is nothing but the reversal of this particular wrong entry. I hope it makes sense. So the last entry is of course the rectification entry, the entry which you are supposed to pass in the exam. The rest is only for your understanding. Okay, I hope now it is visible. So anyway, all these things will be shared with you in the WhatsApp group. That's why it's imperative that you join that WhatsApp group. Okay. So now 2. Oh my goodness. Where were we? Two bad debts recovered 10,000. So now there is no balance in Mohan's account. It's not as if we owe him money. Whatever mistake we had made earlier, we have rectified the same. I hope it makes sense. Let's move on. So this was the 6th transaction, right? Let's move to the 7th one. What do we have here? An amount of 10,000 due from Mohan, which had been, oh, that's done. Sorry. Goods cost being rupees 7,000 and sale price being rupees 10,000 distributed as free samples among prospective customers were not recorded anywhere. Okay, error of omission. Let's see. The entry which we were supposed to record, in this case, we have to record at cost price. We can't record it at sale price because it's not as if we are selling. We are only using those goods which we had earlier bought for sale in advertisement. Because if you give away free samples to whom? Prospective customers, it is nothing but advertisement, no? So you are doing that for a reason. You're hoping that to whomever you are giving those free samples, they will ultimately turn out to be your customers. So that is nothing but promotions or advertisement. So the correct entry which they should have recorded in this case would have been advertisement account debit. How much is the amount? 7,000. 2. This is the tricky part, purchase account. Why should purchase account be credited? Advertisement, we understand, is nothing but an expense which is increasing. What about purchase? Why are we crediting that? Very simple. Purchase account, when we bought those goods for the purpose of selling, that was the intention when we bought. Which account we would have debited? We would have definitely, obviously debited purchase account. Now we are removing goods from there and using somewhere else, that is giving it as free samples or distributing it as free samples. So that means whatever you had purchased earlier, it is now it has now come down. So that means you'll have to reduce purchases, you'll have to reduce the expense, and the expense rule is very clear. If there is any decrease in expense, we have to credit it. So this is the entry which they should have recorded. And what did they do? Goods cost being rupees 7,000 and sale price being 10,000 distributed as free samples among prospective customers were not recorded anywhere. Okay, error of omission. That means it is not at all recorded, and this is the rectification entry as well. So there is nothing much to do. So if it's an error of omission, it's easy for us in the exam because all we have to do is just correct the record the correct entry. So here also we have done the same. Advertisement to purchase. Next. Let me just check the chat window once. Okay, nothing here. Fine. Let's get back. Let's move to the next one. What do we have? Goods amounting. This is the 8th one, right? Goods amounting to rupees 1,000 returned by a customer G and Co were entered in the sales day book, that is sales book, and posted therefrom to the credit office account. So multiple mistakes are there here. You have to carefully understand what exactly is happening. One is of course recording in the wrong place. Goods amounting to rupees 1,000 returned by a customer. It should have been entered in sales returns. Instead, they have entered in the sales day book. So let us try to understand what exactly they have done. The correct entry should have been very simple. Sales returns account, debit to G and Co account. Whatever is the value, 1K and 1K. This is the entry which they should have recorded. But what did they do? This is the right entry. The wrong entry is G and Co account debit to sales plus. So the wrong entry doesn't stop there, because one mistake which they have committed is recording in the sales book. The other mistake is regarding the posting error, because let me read the question again. They were entered in the sales day book instead of the sales returns book and posted therefrom to the credit of his account. That means credit of G and Co's account. So now the other mistake is this. Strictly speaking, this posting would have been like this, to sales, and we would be done. But they didn't do that. Instead, they recorded on the credit side, buy sales 1000. Now, what they have done is they have made multiple mistakes. So when they made this second mistake, they actually recorded it on the right side. Because if we had recorded this original entry, that is sales returns account debit to G and Co account would have been credited, and even in the ledger it would have appeared like this. Instead of buy sales, it would have been buy sales returns. But in any case, it would be on the credit side. Whereas now, by passing this wrong journal entry, they again made a mistake while posting it to G and Co's ledger. So therefore, G and Co's account, because of the double negative or double mistake, it has been automatically rectified. So you don't have to touch. It's nothing but a compensating error only with respect to G and Co's ledger. Whereas with respect to the sales returns, we have not recorded correctly. With respect to sales, we have not recorded correctly. That will have to still change. Okay, let us do that. Now, if you look at this, sales return has not been debited and sales has been credited. Okay, just give me a second. Yeah, I'm back. So if this is the case, how do we rectify this? So sales returns, give the right debit, sales returns account debit. Okay, right debit given, rectification. Then at the same time, wrong credit has been given to sales. Correct that to sales account debit. Then 2. So this is the interesting part. So here I'll write 1000, here also I'll write 1000. Now, which account to give credit to? We can't credit G and Co's account, because in G and Co's account, if you remember, we have already correctly, even though it's by mistake, we have recorded it on the credit side. So don't touch G and Co's account. As I said, it is double negative or compensating error. So now how do we match this? The left hand side is 2000, but the credit side or the right hand side is not showing any account. Of course, it will also be 2000, but which account should we credit to? So here we have to use an unique account called suspense account. That's it. This suspense account has no nature as such. It is neither an asset, liability, income, or expenditure. It is only a filler, a temporary filler. That means until you identify why exactly this particular thing happened, you will put it in suspense account. It's a temporary measure. So this is the rectification entry which you are supposed to pass for this particular problem. Okay, let's move on to the next one, which is the 9th one. So what do we have here? A bill of exchange received from SS and Co for rupees 10,000 had been returned by the bank as dishonored and had been credited to the bank and debited to bills receivable account. We have solved the exact same problem yesterday. I mean, this particular adjustment, that is 9th adjustment, we've already done that. You can just refer to yesterday's class, but nevertheless, I'll just record it once again. I will not go into the details as to what exactly happened. I'll simply record. the entries. So when a bill of exchange has been returned, what have they done? Credited to bank and debited to bills receivable. The correct entry should have been SS and co account debit 10,000, increase in asset. See, when we received a bill from SS and Co, when we received an instrument from SS and Co, we would have reduced their asset, okay, to SS and Co. But now we realize that asset is not getting honored by the bank at all. That means the bank should have cleared that value, but for some reason the bank didn't clear that value. So therefore SS and Co will again become an asset, okay, to bank account, because we would have debited bank earlier. So now we are reversing that account. So this is the entry which we are supposed to pass. For details, please refer to yesterday's class. Okay, so this is class 13. No, I'll just make a note here. So refer to class 12 for details, given the background information and whatnot. So there you will get the details. Now the wrong entry which they have passed, which is there in the question, has been dishonored by the bank and had been credited to the bank and debited to bills receivable. BR account debit 10,000 to bank. This is what they have done, which is a mistake, because BR will not come into picture at all, because it would already be showing zero balance. Okay. Now what is the rectification entry? Very simple. Wrong debit has been given to BR and the correct debit has not been given to SS account. So let us do that. So rectification entry would be SS and co account debit, correct debit by the way, 10,000 to BR account. That's it. So this is the rectification entry for the ninth adjustment. Let's move on. Bill receivable for rupees 2,500 was passed through bills payable book. The bill was given by Jack. Instead of treating that as an asset, you have treated that as a liability, which is obviously incorrect. So the correct entry should have been bills receivable account debit to Jack. Asset is increasing in case of bill receivable, asset is decreasing in case of Jack, whatever is the amount. In this case, that amount is 2,500, 2,500. That they should have passed. So what did they do? They posted it through bills payable. That means they treated this as a liability, meaning Jack's account debit, decrease in liability. How much is that? 2,500 to bills payable, that is increase in liability. This is the entry which they passed. Okay. So now how do we rectify? So first of all, right debit has to be given to bills receivable. Wrong credit given to bills payable should be reversed, and wrong debit given to Jack should also be reversed, and right credit given to Jack. So the rectification entry would be bills receivable account debit 2,500, bills payable account debit again 2,500, and give the credit to Jack 5,000. That's it. So now it makes sense, because Jack account was earlier debited wrongly by 2,500. So out of this 5,000, half will go to rectify this debit, wrong debit, and other half will go to give that right credit to Jack's account. So yeah, that's about it with respect to this particular problem. Let's move on to the next problem. See, uh, my point here is, the more we practice, the better it is. And today is the last class with respect to rectification of errors. This is the second part and the concluding part, let me put it that way. So for tomorrow you will have a quiz related to lesson number 2, and then we'll move towards lesson number 3, which is bank reconciliation statement. So as far as possible, we'll try to solve more and more problems, so that it'll be as a practice for you to I'm sure if you're coming from commerce background, you're already familiar with all these concepts. If you aren't familiar, even if you're coming from science background, this should help. So if at all you have any doubts, you are free to comment during the live stream, or even if you're watching as a recorded session, even then you can definitely drop in a comment below so that I can get back to you. Okay. Mm, just give me a second. Just trying to adjust the background. Yeah. Okay, now it's be easier. Fine. Let's move to a different problem. This has been done. No, I'll just delete so that there won't be any. Huh. So this is the next problem, the trial balance of Sarvesh Kumar. So I'm just reading the problem now. The trial balance of Sarvesh Kumar as on 31st March 2024 did not tally, and the difference was posted to the suspense account. Okay. On a scrutiny of the books, the following errors were detected. So what they did, they realized that the trial balance is not tallying. Instead of checking the errors, they simply posted the difference to suspense account temporarily. Even if they posted it, we should make sure that that suspense account is removed after identification of errors. The total of sales book for Jan 2024 has been cast short by rupees 1000. So there is a what shortage in sales written books by rupees 1000. Then freight paid for. Okay, we'll look into each of these one by one. Okay. So this was asked for 12 marks in CA Foundation. So most of the questions which we are solving in the class is related to CA Foundation, because CA Foundation has more or less the exact same syllabus right now. So their CA Foundation and CSEET Fundamentals of Accounting, it's one and the same except for one unit perhaps. That's all. 1 or 2 units. That's it. So that means those units are there in CA Foundation but not here in CSEET. So let us have a look at this sales returns book. So now sales returns book should have which balance? First you should understand that, then you will be able to answer. The sales returns book shows what? It shows reduction in income. That is what it shows. If increase in income has to be credited, decrease in income has to be debited. So sales returns account will always have a debit balance. Now what they are saying, that debit balance is short by rupees 1000. So we'll have to increase it. That's all. So all we have to do is just pass an entry where that sales returns will balance will increase. So let's see how to do that. Sales returns account debit 1000, increasing the balance, that is reduction in income debit, to suspense account. This is a one-sided error. All the one-sided errors can be rectified only by using the suspense account 1000. That's it. That is the entry which we are supposed to pass in this case. Next, adjustment number 2. Freight paid for installation of a machine rupees 6500 was posted to the freight account as 5600. Clerical error. Let's see. Now adjustment 2. Freight paid for installation of a machine. There are multiple. Oh, there is a error of principle also. Okay. Error of principle plus error of commission. Both errors are here. The error of principle part is this. When you pay for freight for installation of a machine, it should be considered as part of the cost of the asset itself, because unless you get the machine to your place by paying the freight charges, you won't be able to use the machine. When that is the case, you don't consider that as an expense, additional expense. It is part of the capital cost itself. So therefore, which account should have been debited? Machine account should have been debited. One, this is the error of principle. The error of commission is this. Instead of recording at 6,500, the accountant recorded that as 5,600. So this is error of commission, that is clerical error. So both these errors will have to be rectified. So let us try to understand what is the correct entry which they should have passed. The entry would have been, if recorded correctly, machine account debit 6,500 to bank, even though it is freight. As I said, it will be considered as the capital cost. Okay. So what did they do? So they, okay, here again, we have to understand, we have to make an assumption here. They said was posted to freight account. So have they recorded it correctly in the ledger and only made the mistake while posting? We'll assume so. So that means instead of posting to the machinery account, they have posted it to the freight account. So the mistake is this. Go to freight. This is the freight ledger. Freight account to bank. And here also they made a mistake. What is the mistake which they made? Let me just increase the size here. Okay. So instead of recording it as 6,500, they record it as 5,600. This is the mistake. And if they have posted this to the, what is that, freight account, that means they have not posted anything to the machine account. So in the machine account, it is empty. Nothing has been posted. So we have to correct that now. So in the machine account, we can simply say, you can't use bank. Why we can't use bank? Because the posting is what, incorrect only with respect to freight account and machine account. Bank account has been correctly posted, or rather the entry has been correctly posted to the bank account. So here, first of all, we have to cancel the freight. How to cancel? We can simply write by machine 5,600. So that means there was a wrong debit on the freight. We have rectified that by posting a wrong credit also. I mean, by rectifying that particular wrong posting. Okay, let me just erase this so that you will understand what exactly is happening. Mm. By machine 5,600. So now there is no problem in freight. There is a wrong debit and that wrong debit has been rectified. And now when we come to machine account, here there is some complication still. So we'll say to freight 5,600. To that extent, it has been rectified, but the actual debit to the machine account should have been 6,500. Now, right now, we have only rectified to the account of 5,600. So that means still 900 is pending. Again, we can't use bank account because if you write to bank, you'll have to again post it in the bank account also by duplicating the same. So it makes no sense. So therefore, write to suspense account. That's it. So now it has been correctly rectified. So what is the entry which we have to record? Machine account debit to freight 5,600 to suspense 900, and that will actually rectify the transaction. So this is a slightly complicated transaction wherein there is error of principal and also error of commission, and the rectification entry is machine account debit to freight to suspense 5,600 900, both put together 6,500. That is about that. Okay, but adjustment number 2. Let's move on to the next one. Just give me a second, guys. We'll resume in a minute. Checking something. Yeah, done. Okay, let me just check the live. Okay, live is fine, functioning all fine. Okay, let's move on. Next. That was transaction number. Which one was that? Second one, is it? Yeah. Oh no, that was the first one. Second one. Okay, now the third. Fine. Some confusion there. Fine. Third transaction. Goods of the value of rupees 2500 returned by a customer were entered in the sales daybook and then posted there from to the credit office account. Okay, we'll not do this. We have already done in the previous transaction. Previous problem, sorry. Refer previous problem. Okay. So that is with respect to adjustment number 3. Exact same entry was there. Okay. So then we'll not do that. Then adjustment 4. Rupees 18,000 paid for purchase of old motorcycle for personal use of Sarvesh Kumar was debited to conveyance account. Okay. This we can do. So now, when you buy something for yourself as a proprietor or as a owner, basically, from the business cash, that is nothing but drawings. Okay, it has got nothing to do with the business because they are very specifically mentioned for personal use. So that means drawings account will come into picture. That is decrease in liability, decrease in capital. So decrease in liability or decrease in capital will be debited, or rather should be debited. So correct entry would have been drawings account debit 18,000 to bank account 18,000. So this is the entry which they should have recorded. So what did they record? They used conveyance account. How can conveyance come into picture? Okay. Anyway, so conveyance is an expense. Let's say transportation expense. Conveyance account debit 18,000. Stupid mistake, but it's okay. To bank. So now, what is the rectification entry which we have to record? Very simple. Wrong debit given to conveyance should be cancelled. At the same time, give the right debit to drawings account. So the transaction would be, or rather the rectification would be drawings account debit 18k to conveyance. Right debit given to drawings and wrong debit reversed. That's it. Simple, easy transaction. This is similar to our previous problems audit fees transaction. So refer to previous problem audit fees transaction. So you will know what exactly we have done. But again, this is slightly different. That's all. Instead of debiting audit fees like what they did in the previous problem, here they have debited the conveyance account. In both the cases, it's a wrong debit. So that wrong debit shall be rectified by giving the right debit to drawings and rectifying that wrong debit by crediting that account. Oh, I hope that was easy to understand. Anyway, let's move on. That was fourth. Fifth. What do we have? A purchase of rupees 6,700 had been posted to creditor's account as 6,000, single-sided error. So how do we determine whether it's a single-sided error or a double-sided error? Very simple. If in the question, if there is a word, which word? Posted. If that word is there, that means it's a posting error. So posting error means they have recorded the journal entry correctly, but while posting from journal to ledger, they have made a mistake. So here also there is a mistake with respect to posting from journal to ledger. Let's see what exactly they have done. Okay. The correct entry would have been purchase account debit 6,700 to creditors account. We do not know which creditor it is. So simply write creditors account 6,700. So that is the thing. Now, what have they done? Okay. So the mistake here is happening in the creditor's account only. So I'll just draw creditors account. That is the ledger. Now creditors account, since creditors account has been credited, it will appear on the credit side of the account by, it has been credited by purchase, and there they made a mistake of mistake while entering the amount. That is, instead of writing 6,700, they have written 6,000. That is 700 short. Now how do we rectify? So there is a credit balance mistake. There is a shortage in credit balance, or credit has been undercast to the extent of 700. So we can't use buy purchase again, because it will be a new entry. If it's a new entry, we'll have to again go to purchases, and there we'll have to write two creditors again, which will be duplication in the purchase account, because purchase account has been correctly recorded. So how do we know purchase account has been correctly recorded? Because if the mistake has occurred only in the creditors account, because they have mentioned that it has been posted to creditors account as 6,000, there is no mistake in case of purchase account. So don't write purchase here, but instead give that credit of short credit of 700, rectify that by using which account? Suspense account. Okay, so now the entry which you will pass in the exam would be very simple. Suspense account debit 700 to creditors account. That's all. So this will solve our problem temporarily. Why temporarily? Because suspense account is an account which we'll have to use only to rectify the mistake until the actual error is found out. Why we have done this, we do not know while posting. Okay, again, all said and done, these are the errors which will never happen in real life, because single-sided errors can never take place. The system will take care of all the ledger postings. All you can do is just pass the journal entries, and going ahead, maybe another 5 years or 10 years, I'm very sure AI will take over all the accounting. You will not be even required to pass the journal entries. Then all your job would be to only check whether AI has recorded the entries correctly or not. So even that will be done by AI. I'm sure already there are organizations which have implemented this. Okay. Anyway, let's move on. And then you might ask, why are we even learning accounts? Good question, for which I don't have an answer. Next, moving on. What do we have? What is this? Receipt of cash rupees 5,000 from Avinash was posted to the debit of his account. Fine. So again, this is also a single-sided error, because they have very clearly mentioned posted to the debit of his account. Okay. Comics cookies creations. Nice handle though. Thank you. Thank you to comics cookies creations. I should check out your channel if you have uploaded any videos. Looks like it's all about comics. I'm not so sure. Anyway, I'm glad that you are following CSEET classes. Okay, let's come back to the class here. What were we looking at? 6th transaction. Okay. Receipt of cash rupees 5,000 from Avinash was posted to the debit of his account. Okay, first let me record the correct transaction. Cash, no. Cash account debit. Increase in asset. How much cash did we receive? 5,000. To Avinash. Decrease in asset. 5,000. This is the entry which they were supposed to record. Now what did they do? They recorded this correctly. There is no problem with that. Why? Because we know that while posting to Avinash's account, they made a mistake. So that means we'll have to draw Avinash's account. What have they done? Posted to the debit instead of posting on the credit. Because if Avinash account has been credited in the journal, in the ledger it will appear on the credit side itself. They have written on the debit side, that is the opposite side. To cash. Mistake. Okay. So now there is a wrong debit entry in the ledger. How do we correct that? By cancelling it on the opposite side, by suspense. But the crucial part is here in this case is the amount. We can't only write by suspense 5000 and be done with it, because if you do so, you will only be rectifying the mistake which has happened. We can't do that. We have to also give the correct treatment. No, it should have anyway appeared on the credit side as by cash. It hasn't appeared. Now let us give that effect. By suspense 10,000. That means out of the 10,000, 5,000 will go towards what? Towards rectifying this wrong debit posting. Remaining 5,000 will go towards actual entry which they should have anyway recorded. So by doing this, we have rectified the error. So now if I have to convert this into a journal entry, how do I do that? Very simple. The rectification entry which you will be posting in, or rather you will be writing in the exam, suspense account debit 10,000 to Avinash's account 10,000. That's it. So this is the rectification entry. Next, let's move on. What else do we have? Sixth done, no? Seventh. A check for rupees 2,500 received from Alok had been dishonored and was posted to the debit of Ashok. Okay, fine. So now let us record the correct entry. So one thing here is, instead of posting to Alok's account, they have posted to Ashok's account. That is a mistake. And there also they have made some mistake. Okay. Let's see how to record the same. Check for rupees 2,500 received from Alok had been dishonored. So that means Alok will once again become an asset. Alok account debit 2,500 to bank. This is the entry which they should have recorded. They have also recorded this entry correctly. There is no doubt about that. But while posting this, the mistake has happened. So it should have been recorded in Alok's ledger as to bank. Okay, so that is the thing which they should have done. To bank 2,500. This they did not. That means in the Alok's ledger, this is still empty, this portion. And what did they do instead? They went to Ashok's account by mistake and recorded there. Okay, that too how? Let me just transfer this here. Now I think it's visible. Yeah. So, and was posted to the debit of Mr. Alok. Okay, Ashok, that is fine. There, they are recorded on the debit side only. That's still fine. 2,500. Instead of writing to bank in Alok's ledger, they wrote to bank in Ashok's ledger. So here there is a wrong debit entry where in Ashok's account. How to rectify that wrong debit entry? Very simple. By Alok. That's it. 2,500. And here to Ashok. 2,500. This is nothing but the cross posting. Same thing, getting cross posted. So what is the entry then? What is the rectification entry which we are supposed to pass in the exam? That we just now saw, but let us do that again. That would be Alok's account debit to Ashok's account. 2,500, 2,500. That's it. Okay, what else? Next, let's move on. Sale of 8,500 to Mr. Deepak was recorded in the sales book correctly, but while posting in ledger, credited to his account. Oh, okay. Here also they made a mistake. Let's see. Next one, no? Eighth adjustment, right? Yeah. Sale of 8,500 to Deepak was recorded in the sales book correctly. That means Deepak to sales has been passed correctly. Okay, let me just show it. Deepak to sales. This is the right entry which they should have recorded, and they have actually. So 8,500. 8,500. But while posting in the ledger credited to his account, that is Deepak's account, it should have been written on the debit side, but they have posted to the credit side, unfortunately. instead of writing two sales, they wrote by sales, which is obviously wrong. So this debit is missing and there is a wrong credit here. So how do we rectify? So pass it on the post it on the debit side. Two suspense. We can't write again two sales because again it will get duplicated in the sales book. And here also we can't simply write 8500 because if you write two suspense 8500 in Deepak's ledger, you'll be only cancelling the wrong credit entry. What about passing the right debit entry? So for that, what should we do? We should write 17,000 here. Out of that 17,000, half, that is 8,500, will go towards rectifying the wrong credit entry, and the remaining half will go towards giving the right debit effect. So the rectification entry which you will be passing in the exam would be Deepak's account debit 8,000, sorry, 17,000 to suspense 17,000. That's it. Next, the total of discount allowed column in the cash for the month of December 2023 amounting to rupees 3,800 was not posted. Oh my goodness, this I think we did in the first problem maybe, but still we can do that, not a big deal. So the total of discount allowed, that means discount allowed is what to the business? It's an expense. Expense will have which balance? It will always have debit balance. That debit balance is short by how much? 3,800. Let's do that. So it's a single-sided error, once again, not posted for various reasons. We do not know why exactly it has not been posted. So we will assume that for some reason it has not been posted. Since we do not know the reason, we'll have to use the suspense account to rectify the same. Okay, shall we? So the discount allowed, once again, is an expense. So if expense has to be increased, debit it. Discount allowed account debit 3,000. How much is that? 3,800 to suspense account 3,800. That's it. Okay. Now we have rectified that because single-sided error can be rectified only by using the suspense account. We know that already. Next, 10th one. Sale of old office table for rupees 2,200 treated as sale of goods, furniture. Okay, old office table is furniture. I think we have solved this similar adjustment yesterday, but nevertheless we'll do this. So the correct entry would have been bank account debit because we are getting some money by selling old furniture, 2,200 to furniture, decrease in asset, increase in asset and decrease in asset. This asset is increasing, this asset is decreasing, 2,200. Now what did they recorded this as? They recorded this as bank account debit 2,200 to sales account, which is wrong. It is not regular day-to-day sales. We have only sold some old furniture which can't be treated as sales. So how do we rectify this? Very simple, reverse it. What should be reversed? Sales should be reversed by debiting and give the right credit to furniture, which we haven't done. So the entry, that is the rectification entry, would be sales account debit 2,200 to furniture account 2,200. That's it. Okay. You are required to pass necessary journal entries with narration and all that nonsense. We don't need narration. Okay. So we don't even open the suspense account. You can do that later on your own. So you have all the entries here. You can open the suspense account and check what is the revised balance as well. Okay. Let's move on to the next problem. The last problem in this topic, rectification. Okay, Sarvesh Kumar done, no? I'll just delete so that I will not get confused later on. Yeah, fine. Let's move on to the last one. Have we solved this? Have we solved this? No, we haven't. Let's read. The following mistakes were located in the books of a concern after its books were closed and a suspense account was opened in order to get the trial balance agreed. Fine. So similar premise. Sales day book was overcast by rupees 1000. That means there is an increase in the balance with respect to sales day book. That means sales account shows a balance, extra balance of rupees 1000. Sales is what of the business? Income. And income, when it gets credited, or rather when it gets recorded, should be credited. So it will always have a credit balance. That credit balance is more by 1000. So decrease it by debiting. That's all. Very simple. So the entry in this case, rectification entry, is very simple. First adjustment, sales account debit 1000 to suspense account. It was overcast, no, it showed an excess balance of 1000. We are reducing that by debiting, that is decreasing the income. That's it. Next, second question or adjustment. Sale of rupees 5000 to X was wrongly debited to account of Y. Okay, the correct entry would have been X account debit, increase in asset, because we have sold goods to X, increase in asset, they're supposed to pay us rupees 5000 to sales, increase in income. Okay, so this is the entry which they were supposed to pass. So what did they do? They wrongly debited to Y's account. Y's account debit 5000 to sales account. That means the credit part is still correct. Okay, so that means the entry, rectification entry, has to take care of only the debit part. There is a wrong debit to Y and there is a missing debit to X. So give the missing X debit first. X account debit 5k and reverse this by creating to Y's account 5k. Simple. That's all. Nothing much to do here. I hope this is clear. If not, please do ask. Let me just check the chat once. Yeah, nothing here. Let's move on. Anything. Yeah, fine. Okay. Third adjustment, fine. Let's move to third adjustment. What do we have here? General expenses rupees 180 was posted in the general ledger as 810. Okay, fine. Correct entry would have been general expenses account 180 to bank 180. Okay, so now they say was posted in the general ledger. Let's assume that it's in the right ledger. Okay, we do not know whether it is the right ledger or not. I'll assume it's the right ledger. But while posting in the general ledger, they posted it as to bank 810. So there is a huge mistake, okay, with respect to the amount. That means the debit balance while posting has been unnecessarily increased, haven't they? Okay, instead of 180, they are now showing 810. That means 630 rupees more, isn't it? 630, no, 180 plus 30 would be 210 plus 600, 810. Yeah, fine. So now we'll have to reduce general ledger by 630 rupees. How do we do that? By posting on the reverse side or the opposite side, that is the credit side. So by suspense 630. So there is a overcast here by 630. We are removing that by recording on the opposite side. That's all. So the entry in this case would be, that is the journal entry, rectification entry, suspense account debit 630 to general ledger. That's it. 630 and 630. Next, fourth one. What do we have here? Mhm. A bill receivable for rupees 1,550 was passed to the bills payable book. The bill was given by P. We have already solved in the very first problem of today's session, but I will still solve. I think this is similar to Jack's adjustment solved earlier. Okay. So let me record this. What is the correct entry which they should have recorded? Bill receivable, no? Bills receivable. Increase in asset. Debit 2. What is the name of the party in this case? P. Decrease in asset. How much? 1,550. 1,550. Okay. Then this is the correct entry. Wrong entry is P's account debit 1,550 to bills payable account 1,550. So how do we rectify this? Again, wrong account has been debited. Of course, error of principle, but let's see. Rectification entry would be give the right debit to bills receivable. So BR account debit 1,550. BP account also debit because there is a wrong credit. How to rectify wrong credit? Only by reversing it, that is by debiting it. And 2, P's account. Okay, so that will be 3,100. That's all. This is the rectification entry. Easy rectification entry. We have already seen this. That's why I don't want to get into the details of this. That makes sense. I hope. Next. Fifth one. Legal expenses rupees 1,190 paid to Mrs. Neetu was debited to her personal account. Okay, fine. So legal expenses paid should always be debited to legal expenses itself because it's an expense. How can you debit Mrs. Neetu's personal account? So that is something which you shouldn't be doing. Okay, let me record the correct entry. Legal expense is an expense. Expense, if it increases, should be debited. So debit what? Legal expenses account. Debit. How much is the debit? 1,190 to bank. Wrong entry would be Mrs. Neetu's account debit 1,190 to bank. Rectification entry is legal expense account. Give the right debit to legal expense account, which was earlier missing 1,190, and reverse this wrong debit to Mrs. Neetu by crediting it. So credit Mrs. Neetu's account 1,190. No need to touch bank account because it has been correctly credited even in the wrong entry. So this is the rectification entry. I hope it makes sense. Next. Fine. Last couple of entries and we'll be done with rectification as a topic after this. That is in tomorrow's session. That is 18th. Tomorrow's Wednesday, right? Yeah. Tomorrow's session we will have a quiz related to chapter number 2 or lesson number 2. And then once we are done with the quiz, we'll move to the lesson number 3, which is bank reconciliation statement. Let's move to sixth adjustment. Okay. Cash received from Ram was debited to Sham. Okay. I think we have done this similar problem adjustment. Correct entry. Cash account debit 1,500 to Ram 1,500. This is the entry which they should have recorded. What have they done? Is it a posting error? Nowhere in the question they have mentioned that it is a posting error. If they had mentioned it as was posted to the debit of Sham's account, then we would have realized it's a posting error. Here they have made the mistake while recording itself. So that means they posted Sham's account. Sham's account debit 1500 to cash 1500. Completely incorrect recording. So rectification here would be give the right debit to cash first of all. Cash account debit. How much? 3000. Because if I write only 1500, it will only rectify this mistake of 1500. It will not give the right treatment to this, which should have been the case earlier anyway. So increase in asset. Then Sham's account has been incorrectly debited. Reverse it to Sham. 1500 to Ram. Give the correct credit. That's all. Sorry. Yeah. Now it is visible. Fine. I hope it's clear now. Yeah. Fine. We are with the last entry. That's all. Once we pass that, we'll be done with the problem. Let's move on to that then. Sixth, no, seventh. No, we are in seventh transaction. No, sixth. Yeah. Last one is seventh. Okay. While carrying forward the total of one page of the purchase book to the next, the amount of rupees 1235 was written as 1325. That means overcast of purchase book. That means they've increased the balance of purchase. Increase the balance of purchase means the debit balance is more now. See, the total was earlier, the correct total was 1235. There is nothing but the debit balance. Purchase book will always have debit balance because it's an expense. This was shown as 1325. A mistake. Okay, so that means there is an excess debit of rupees 90. 1325 minus 1235. 90 rupees extra debit in which book? In the purchase book. So purchase book will normally have debit balance. That debit balance is anyway more by 90 rupees. Reduce it. That's all. How? By crediting purchase. So the entry in this case would be suspense account debit 90 two purchases. That's all. So this will rectify the mistake, that is the excess debit to purchase account. So yeah, that's it with respect to rectification of errors. I have solved few problems, detailed problems so far. The reason why I did so was, if you look at your material, there is hardly any problem there. This is your material, by the way. So this is the rectification of errors. That's all. That is the material which we have with respect to rectification. They have hardly given any problem there, but that's a very important topic for us to understand the journal entries as well. It's not just about rectification, it is also about journal entries. So that's the reason why I touched upon what is that, rectification in detail. So we still do not know whether this will be asked as a detailed problem or not. We'll have to only wait till the first attempt, that is in June. So this is lesson number 2. So we are done with lesson number 2, done in the sense with respect to completion of the syllabus per se. So we are not done with the quiz which we normally have at the end of each lesson. So tomorrow obviously we'll start this lesson, that is bank reconciliation statement. But before that we'll have a quiz, maybe 25-30 questions with respect to lesson 2. It's an exhaustive lesson. It's a huge lesson, that is lesson 2. And then once we are done with the quiz, we'll move to lesson 3. If you have any doubts regarding whatever we have solved with respect to lesson 2, you can please leave a comment below now, or even ask me in tomorrow's session. So that's it. Before we proceed further, one second, let me just be done with this announcement. So this is the CSEET mentorship program for the June 2026 students. All you have to do is just call us on 973-973-3400. So why should you do that? Because you will get one-to-one personal mentoring. Writing practice will be given, weekly tests with correction and mock exams with correction. And also there'll be group mentorship session by CS Swati Sharma. Okay, so that is the benefit which you will get by joining the mentorship program. On top of that, we also have our WhatsApp group. So do click on the link below. It will directly take you to that group. Join that group, so you will get all the notes which we share in the class, and also the important CSEET updates or any class related announcements will be made there. Okay, that's it. See you tomorrow with a quiz, and then to lesson 3 BRS.